Hi everyone, Amy here with Never Grow Up Vacations, and now it's time to come fly with Amy. So I apologize first for the delay. I know I've been back from my honeymoon for a couple of days, but it's been just kind of a whirlwind, just getting back to work and getting back to life. But today I'm excited to talk about Punta Cana and kind of what you should know going to Punta Cana during still COVID times, because it is currently June of 2021 and we're still kind of in pandemic mode, and there's a lot of changes that are still happening all the time and it's just hard to keep up with. So first and foremost, as I'm sure you would expect, I'm going to obviously recommend, especially when booking with international travel, definitely book with a travel agent because they will stay up to date on everything changes, right? So that's your first thing. If you book it on your own or you book through a third party such as Travelocity, Expedia, there's no one to talk to. You can call the 1-800 number and they are not always the best. So now more than ever, especially if you're going international, definitely travel agent who knows what's going on. So I'll just kind of run through what Punta Cana is like. So before I start, I do want to remind you, Punta Cana is still considered a third world country, but it's a hot tourist destination. It's a hot, all-inclusive destination. So I think it's just important to know that going into it. I love Punta Cana. I've been there multiple times and I'll go back again. But it's just important to know how to set yourself up for a good vacation. So first, when you book your package, book airport transportation. Your airport arrival is a lot different than the US airport arrival. So you land in Punta Cana, it's beautiful, and you walk onto the runway and you just go on a bus. It's not a jet bridge, it's a bus. You have to walk down the stairs and you hop on a bus, and it's a little toasty most of the time. You hop in your little bus, the bus drives you over to the terminal. Now, with it being international, you do have to go through customs. So right now, with the current customs regulation in Punta Cana, you get in this big, huge, long line. It is long, so you have to prepare yourself for that. They are doing random COVID tests right when you get to the airport. When I say random, they literally just pluck people off airplanes. Go figure, we were plucked. So yes, we did get a random COVID test at the Punta Cana airport. We did show our vaccination cards, which I think did help a little bit. I don't know if there was a difference in test or not, but we were plucked. We had to sign a little form. We had to blow in this little tube, which was different than the American COVID test, so a little different. So we did our little COVID test, and then we had to go through actual customs. Obviously, at that time, you need your passport, and then there's also an online digital form you have to fill out. So there's a little QR code that you need to have. You just need to have the proof that you did that. They actually were not scanning the day we were there, but you still need to have proof that you have that. So once you get through that little area, you then continue on to baggage, which, keep in mind, their airport terminal is kind of like a tiki hut, which is fun, but it's a little bit different. Most areas are not air conditioned, so especially when you're flying to Punta Cana in the summer, dress very comfortably because most buildings are 80-85 degrees, a little toasty for us Americans. And you're then going to get your baggage. There's going to be lots of baggage handlers if you want some assistance. We opted not to get assistance. We didn't have that much baggage. And you're going to go to the ground transportation area, and it's a little hectic. Just know what to expect when you get there. So, as I had said, it's so important to book your airport transfer ahead of time. It is not like taxis in the US. You can still get a taxi, you can still walk right up, and you can still just find somebody to drive you, but just think about the safety aspect of that. You want to be booked with somebody reliable. So when you book a package with a travel agent, 9 times out of 10, they'll put you with a company called Amstar, which is one of the largest destination marketing organizations in the Dominican Republic. Very reliable, very safe. So we got our private transfer with Amstar. They were waiting for us. I gave them our name. They knew where we were going, and we were whisked away on the little bus. Took about 45 minutes for us to get to our resort, which was Breathless Punta Cana. do make sure you carry tip money. This is so important. Anytime you travel, but especially when you're traveling international, bring small bills. Most of your baggage handlers, drivers, even some of your service staff at your resort, they will, I don't want to say expect a tip, but they will make an indication that they're looking to be tipped. So just be sure to do that. That's something that's super important. A lot of those folks, their income levels aren't what they are with Americans. So they see us as coming in as their income. So it's really important to them. And especially with tourism, being cut for so long, especially in the Dominican, now more than ever, it's important to give what you can for good service. So you get to your resort, you're whisked away. Once you get onto your resort, you feel like you're not in a third world country. All of the all-inclusives are really good about having proper security. They're all very good about making sure the right people get onto the property and just nobody off the street. All of your resorts are located very close to market areas. I caution you when going to any type of market on your own, just be careful. We choose not to go to the local markets just because, you just don't ever know. It's a little bit different there. You can barter, of course. You can talk them down on pricing. You can get some cool souvenirs, but we choose not to do that. When you get on site, it's then also important to book your excursions through a reputable source. Same reason, safety reasons. So again, at your resort, you'll have some sort of representative company that will facilitate that process. In our specific resort, it was Amstar. They were on site every day from 11 to 7. You just walk on up, you start talking to them, they take your payment, and you're done. I highly recommend booking your excursions through those companies because, again, safety is key, like so key. In our case, we ended up booking a dolphin excursion and we booked a marinarium, I think it was called. It was some kind of like sea snorkeling thing. So when you book through those places, you get guaranteed transportation to and from, which again is safe. And then you're getting a safe experience. So we did the dolphins and we had an interesting experience. The experience was not exactly what we were told. We were told the excursion would only be 3 hours. It ended up being like 7. I was pooped by the end of it. We had a great time. We still loved the dolphin experience. It just was a little bit different from what we were expecting. Because of that, we decided to then cancel our second excursion. We enjoy the resort. We are paying money to be at the resort and eat and drink, and we don't want to be pulled away for a full day. So we made the decision. We talked to our representative based upon our first experience, and we said, hey, are you able to cancel this for us? And they did. They refunded us the full amount. So that's kind of an off experience. When we went to Punta Cana, we did the Bavaro, it's called the Bavaro Adventure Park. Highly recommend that. It is like dune buggies. I think that's what they're called. They're little like ATV things. You run through the mud. Super fun. You get to ride to the beach. When we did Bavaro the first time, the adventure park, we actually paid for a package that had a private photographer. This lady was like snapping shots of us as we were getting all muddy, which was hilarious after the fact. But we actually got some really cute photos out of it. So that was fun. We did that our first time. And then the other excursion we did our first time was Scape Park. Very distinctive name, Scape, S-C-A-P, Scape. And that has like a whole bunch of different things in one. But what we did was zip lining, which a blast, highly recommend. And we also did this boat ride. Basically this boat, kind of like a booze cruise, but not exactly a booze cruise, took us out to the ocean, to a sandbar. We basically took some shots of what's called Mama Juana. It was so fun. And it took us back. It was like an hour long, but super scenic, super fun. So I do recommend Bavaro Adventure Park and Scape Park. Dolphin experience, it was a little off for us that day. So that's your excursions. Again, tips, bring some small bills, especially if you go to the spa. Like we did 2 spa days. We did tip in cash. You can tip on hotel room in some circumstances, but especially your bartenders, your servers, if you do a hibachi table, like, some of those you want to tip for excellent service. Gratuities most of the time are included in your stay, but again, excellent service. We had a butler, we ended up tipping our butler, so just keep that in mind. So you enjoy your vacation, everything's great, and then you get your transportation back. So again, that's typically an all-in-one. If you book one way, you'll typically book a round trip transfer. I do recommend a direct transfer, private or not private. I typically don't book private just because you might stop one other, you might have a couple of the people in your bus, but for the most part, you know, there's not a big crowd. I think our bus ride back had 10 people on it, but the bus was big enough for like 20, so plenty of space and whatnot. Let's see, what else? In general, with masks in Punta Cana right now, once you're on your resort property, most of the time they did not require a mask. The only time they wanted us to wear a mask was at the buffet, reasonable, and walking into a restaurant until you were seated, fairly reasonable. So they did have disposable masks available for you. Each all-inclusive is a little bit different, but for the most part, we were outside 90% of the time, so at the pools and dancing and drinking, and we didn't have to wear a mask at those times. But keep in mind, tourism is still kind of on the rise right now. The resorts are not full at all. I want to say Breathless, if I had to give a really solid guesstimate, I would say maybe 50% occupancy, maybe. Now Onyx, which was next door to us, I would say probably about 30% occupancy. It was empty, very, very empty. So just kind of keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that not every venue at your all-inclusive is going to be open all of the time. It's just not quite back to normal like it used to be. When I say that, I mean restaurants will rotate out which restaurant is open each night. So not every restaurant is going to be open every night. But again, just be flexible in that. I think that's really about it. If anybody has any questions about my Punta Cana experience, let me know. The biggest changes right now are just, bring a mask, wash your hands, no different than we've been doing. I felt very safe the whole time. We didn't have any issues, but book through reputable sources. That is my lesson to you today. You do not want to be on the news for being that tourist that gets kidnapped or something crazy or robbed. Could happen. You just never know. So that's really important. Oh, the one last thing I wanted to touch upon is in order to come back to the US, you do need a negative COVID test. Very important. They will not let you on that airplane without it. Very important. So most of your all-inclusive resorts right now are doing free antigen testing, which does count. The guideline through International did not specify whether it had to be PCR or antigen, so it's just any test. And yes, Brittany, they did test us on site. It was actually pretty nice. They told us to book they say book it. It's through a hospital system. You just book it, and we walked to a random hotel room on property, like 2 doors away, and they just done. That's it. You get your results emailed to you. In our case, we had our results within like 12 hours, but they want you to test 2 days prior. The rule for the US is 3 days prior, so that's like your maximum. But super quick and easy. The airline is responsible for checking that, so do make sure you have that. An important note, though, I will say, is that the Punta Cana airport did have COVID testing on site in case you didn't know about that. So if you get there and you panic and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have any accommodations, I don't know the cost, but you can get tested at the Punta Cana airport. I did see that. All right, let me know if you have any questions about that. Things are ever changing, so what I say today may not be applicable next week. But again, that's why it's important to book with a travel agent, book with your reputable sources, so you don't get stuck in a foreign country and not be allowed back in. So until then, I am your honeymoon and all-inclusive expert. Looking forward to planning my own next one, hopefully sooner rather than later. So until then, shoot me your messages, continue to comment on this below, and until then, happy travels. Bye.